I remember I had an English teacher named Diane Cruz who I was a super shy kid, like when I was growing up, and I didn't really get out of that until much got older. But she really helped me. We used to have these weekly meetings in class, and what they were was every kid had to do an activity. So it was like read a tongue twister. I don't know, teach everyone in the room something. Do a book review. That was my favorite. Like when it was the book review, it was like I would just bring books to life in front of people. And I love reading, and Brandon knows I love reading. I read like 100 books a year. So
Wow.
I get into that. When I got into high school, again, theater wasn't something I could really do because it was a small town. It was 100 people. The town I went to high school in was even worse. Well, it was a little better. It was like 5,000. But the difference was that I would have to drive there to do it. And so I never did any theater in high school. But I recognized very quickly that I was doing small bits of theater as I went along. Like I remember doing a scene from To Kill a Mockingbird for class, and a horrible Southern accent, but I was at least tried. And then I remember in grade 12, we had to do this assignment where we read a biography and we had to portray a scene for the class from that person's life. And I decided to do a guy who was a psychiatrist going to a psychiatrist. I thought that was really kind of fascinating. And it was this really weird story about a son who found out his father had mental things done to him in Montreal that were actually funded by the CIA, and it was a for real true story. And so I do this monologue about talking about my dad and all this sort of stuff. And I look to the back of the room when I finish, and my English teacher was just crying. Like it was just bawling in the back row. And I'm going, okay, why did no other child elicit this reaction? No one else in my class did this. Like everyone else was very kind of safe. And I just kind of let it go. I sang Swanee at one point because that was their favorite song. And I realized wait, I did something. I don't know what I did, but it seemed to be a good thing. And so I think I should keep doing that. I got kind of sidetracked into film because I also did a film in grade 12 as well too, that had won a prize in the region for just being just best documentary. It was about the history of my hometown. So I got kind of sidetracked into film, but theater seemed to always be grabbing me from some other direction. Like it was I took some drama classes. I was not a good actor really per se, but I loved writing. I loved writing portion of it. And then when I decided to pursue the film stuff a little bit, I realized that when I was taking all these film classes that it was intriguing to watch film, but it was so technical. I really want to know about humans. I want to do stuff with that. And a lot of my stories were not technically great, but they were telling stories of these human beings and stuff. And so I started doing a lot more theater classes where I could go to see theater and participate in theater. And that's when I started to write. I had a teacher in, I guess, my fourth year. I got to know her my first year, and her name was Mary Blackstone. And we actually still talk to each other now and then and stuff like that. And I there was a reading recently out at University of Regina, and I joined in, and she went, "Oh my God, Stephen!" Oh my God, yeah. It was we had a nice little reunion going on. But she really taught me about just digging into stories and digging into scripts and taking your time to read them. I read Streetcar Named Desire with her. I remember doing that in the class, and she asked. I still speed read a little bit, but I sped read the play a little bit, and I missed an amazing plot point. And she asked me about it, and I went, what are you talking about? What are you talking about her being raped? I missed that completely. And she said, go back and read the script and go through it again. And I ended up doing a one-on-one intensive for a semester with her, where I wrote this whole long script. One I actually had written for my dad for a Christmas present, which confused him greatly. But because nothing confuses a farmer dad like a theater script, I swear. It's like I put his shirt with it just to make sure that he was okay at the end of it. Mm-hmm. But he ended up reading it all the way through. But I ended up developing that piece with her, and it was just an amazing experience, just kind of just digging like that. And I realized that's what I love doing. That's what I want to be doing all the time. But it's hard because you're in a small community, a small town, and it's not the most thought of as valuable commodity to go from a small town. But it was when I came to Toronto, and I was still kind of writing scripts and still kind of doing stuff, and I entered this script called The State of Tennessee into the Best New Play contest, the Toronto Fringe, where all of a sudden it came in second, and I'm like, what? like I just, it didn't make no sense to me, but I was kind of like, okay, let's, I think this is what I've got to do. And then when I won the second time, that's when I said to myself, okay, this is it. Like, this is what I want to be doing all the time, as much as I possibly can. Any job I have will be just in service of whatever that is. So it's like, when I'm done my, now I'm working at Crate and Barrel, but once I'm done there, I'm back home writing scripts. Like, that's what I do. So
love it.
Yeah.
So that piece, State of Tennessee, that was sort of, is that kind of like Tennessee Williams fan fiction type thing where you took
a little bit
and extrapolated, or was more based on his real life? Or
it had a little bit of his real life in there. It's about a young writer, pretty much myself, going to visit him in Key West, Florida, to learn how to write plays, and then getting caught up in my own Tennessee Williams script while I was there.
Brilliant.
And it was a hard play to do, because there's a lot about my relationship with my mother that's in that play, because there's a lot about Tennessee Williams and his mother that was so intriguing and such. So, and I had a really funny experience with that when we actually produced it. My brother came to town, and he never read the script at that point. Now he reads every script, but I wrote the script, and it happened to be the talkback night. And he sees his play, and he hears certain things that my mother had called me or said to me when I came out as being gay. And he was like, he said he thought he's gonna be smart and start asking questions during the talkback. And did she really say that? I said, oh yeah, that's what she said. And he was like, whoa, I didn't know any of this. And so we went out for a drink afterwards and talked about the script and talked about what happened. And but I bring in me sometimes to scripts, sometimes I don't. I've always learned that if you write about yourself, if you can't see yourself as the bad guy in the story, you shouldn't be writing about yourself. Then it just becomes vain at that point and says, yeah. So I sometimes written myself, but yeah, that's a little different.
Well, because your next play, The Seat Next to the King, has been performed all across Canada, and I believe in some places in the U.S.
We did it here in Toronto, and then we did it in Kitchener, which was a great experience. And then it got done down Buffalo, and then there's a company down in California that did a play reading of it during COVID. Mm-hmm. And it was really cool because it's a super intimate play, and it does not work almost at all for COVID, view cams and stuff like that. But they did a great job, and they did it. It was what was great about that production was it was the first time I saw it done with age appropriate actors to the characters. Oh, and that makes a huge difference, right? I will always love the Toronto production. It was my favorite. We dug the deepest into that one, but it was interesting seeing the actors of that age playing the parts that they're supposed to be playing, right? Yeah.
What age were they supposed to be played at?
Sorry?
What age were they supposed to be played at, the two characters?
In their mid-40s.
Oh, okay. And
so we had two actors who were in their mid-20s.
Okay, yeah.
And because it was hard, casting can be always so tricky. Tanisha Tate, who directed it, said to me the most beautiful thing, which was, it doesn't matter the ages, it matters the chemistry. If the chemistry works, it will work. Mm-hmm. And no one will even think about it. It's kind of, how sometimes we see Shakespeare plays of different diverse backgrounds of actors, and it might be the daughter of someone, and you don't think about it because you're so caught up in the story that you don't think about it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. Unless you have to. Yeah. Unless that's part of the story. But yeah, definitely. It was interesting. And definitely the one in Buffalo was a very special production, because the half of your play just done outside of Canada was just so cool anyways. And I got to go down for the opening, and they called me up to do one rehearsal, and I was I'm a very non-interactive writer when it comes to rehearsals. I kind of once I've written the play, it's now the director to take on the play and do stuff, and to get asked a lot of questions in the room was a little odd, because I'm I don't want to step on the director's toes or what he's planning to do and stuff like that. And so but it was unique, and it was a lot of fun, and I still talk to those actors now and then. I kept up with them through COVID as well too. The one who played Walter in the show down there, I'm dying to write him something else, to give him another script, because and Brandon, you probably know this, sometimes where actors get caught into certain patterns of roles, and directors only see that actor. Mm-hmm. He's this guy who's a song and dance man. He can do any musical you can think of, and then he does Walter in The Seat Next to the King, which is the least musical, the most wrought character probably he would ever get. And he was I love doing this. I finally could do a character that was nothing like everything else.